Well, welcome to the Pregnancy Help Podcast. My name's Christine Grimmett, and I'm here with Betty McDowell, our Vice President of Ministry Services here at Heartbeat International. We have a guest with us today. He's a speaker and comedian named Derrick Tennant. I also want to mention, before we get started, we have the Heartbeat Annual Conference coming up. It's going to take place March 30th through April 1st, 2022. So we're holding that in Jacksonville, Florida next year. So go to heartbeatservices.org and click on training if you'd like to get more information on that.
Thanks so much, Christine. It's really great to be with you today. I am really excited because we get to have a friend of the Pregnancy Help community and friend of Heartbeat International with us. And for our listeners today, I'm just thinking about, we certainly live in such interesting times. When I think about what's happening on the political front and pandemics and all that crazy stuff that doesn't want to seem to go away. And thought it would be really nice for us to take a moment, just to take maybe 20 minutes and take a break from all the stuff that you're doing and have a chance to just enjoy and kind of drink in some joy today. So one of the things that I have found in my personal life and here at Heartbeat International is that humor is our drug of choice. Our work is really hard, and it's nice to be able to take a break and find some things that bring us joy. I think scripturally, you think a merry heart does good like a medicine. And so when I think about a joyful spirit, when I think about a happy heart, when I think about positivity, I tend to think of Derrick Tennant. And so Derrick's joining us today. Derrick, tell us where you are today. Because you're always somewhere.
I am in a parking lot in Syracuse, New York, because my watch was 2 hours behind.
That's okay, Derrick. We can handle a 2-hour delay. So
awesome. And you said that humor is your drug of choice. Does that make me your dealer today?
First one's free. Is that how that goes?
Yeah, something like that.
No, it is. And Derrick, I just know having a conversation with you and having a chance to follow you. I was actually watching Dry Bar the other day and watching your work, and I sent it out to friends and some family, and awesome. It actually started this really kind of fun, I guess like a riff maybe is the right word, back and forth with my siblings. And back and forth saying, hey, tell Derrick that we think he's right on. Like all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So they just really appreciated your humor as well. And so it was really fun.
Awesome.
And people who don't know you, who just heard me say that, probably have no idea what the heck I'm talking about.
This is true, yeah.
Why don't we start out, Derrick, by letting you explain a bit about like your story and who you are. Like, 'cause I have questions for you. So I want to hear about your story, who you are, and then maybe tell us how you got connected to the Pregnancy Help community as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, first of all, I'm blessed. I have a great life. The right on comment is because my left side is paralyzed. And that happened when I was 14. I was working towards a career in sports and had some good success and everything. And then one day I just had a headache and I went into a coma. They told my parents I would die that night, which I didn't. So that was a step in the right direction. I lived in a wheelchair for a long time, had brain surgery, just years of rehab, learning how to talk and walk just like I was a baby, starting all over. And the end result is that, I basically can't use half of my body, but, you do the YMCA and I do the LOL, that's kind of how it doesn't stop, by the way. Sometimes I feel left out.
Oh, gosh. No, please talk to us about your basketball experience. That was good.
Oh, I did actually. Yeah, I played basketball before I got hurt, but then after I got hurt, football was my favorite sport and I couldn't play football with one hand. You just can't. So I started focusing on basketball, as a white short guy that can only use one arm, and got to a point. And we talk a lot about this in our motivational speaking as well, that I played competitively overseas. But I think you may be referring to when I played when I was in a wheelchair, right?
I am.
Okay. So that was, those guys are serious and I was terrible. Think about it. I had one hand. I just kept going in circles, But eventually, though, you got to stick with it because eventually I started beating every one of them. Once I learned to walk again. defense. I didn't do that really, but I did volunteer to be their referee, right? Because and they wouldn't have me, believe it or not. They actually said I was too one-sided. But I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I've actually heard some of these before. They still make me laugh.
Oh, that's a good thing. Yeah.
I love your perspective. I love your attitude.
Yeah, look on the right side,
So how did you get connected to the pregnancy help community?
Well, that's probably because of my hero and my best friend. Initially was the contact. My sister is, she's unforgettable. She's amazing. She's one of these people, she's beautiful, funny, successful. Everybody knows her name. She owns her own business and all that. And I'm just Julie's brother. That's how people know me. But it's okay. I'm fine with that because she is that amazing and beautiful. And Julie has Down syndrome. For those who don't know, that's an extra chromosome. And what's cool is my grandfather taught us that it's not an extra chromosome, but you and me are missing it.
Yep.
And he called it the love chromosome because they know how to love better than us. And if you had the pleasure of meeting anybody with Downs, that's true.
Well, and we've had the pleasure of knowing Julie, and she is amazing. She
really is.
She's funny.
She's hilarious.
She calls you out a lot.
Oh my gosh. I mean, she's funnier than me. I mean, I'll just go out and say it, I just figured out how to make money off of this, but she's definitely funnier than me. She like every show that we do, we do, comedy clubs, churches, pregnancy centers, everything. We're so blessed to do shows together, and she'll say things on stage because she's so, genuine, right? Whatever's in her mind. Like we did this big corporate event that paid really well. And I'm on stage, they're all in suits. And the event honestly was kind of boring, but I want to get this gig next year, right? So I said on stage, I'm like, guys, thanks so much. This has been great. I go, right, Julie? And she looks at me and she goes, no. She's like, this is boring. And guess what? They hired us back because that was so refreshing. They were all bored. They were all bored too. I was just trying to schmooze them. But she's amazing. We did an event with Mike Huckabee together, and he was speaking before us. And Julie loves him. We've been on his show, and we're buddies. But she says to me, she's like, I'm kind of bored. Can I go? Because Mike was speaking. And I said, yeah, we got to, come back in 10 minutes because we're on after him. So she leaves. And while she's gone, Mike talks about her on stage. And this is an event where there was, several thousand people there. And if anybody likes attention more than me, it's my sister, Julie, so she gets back. And I said, Jewel, while you're gone, he talked about you. She goes, no. And I said, yeah. She goes, what did he say? And this is what he said. It was pretty cool. I love this guy. He says, when I see Julie Tennant, I'm reminded that a person with Down syndrome is just as important as the captain of the football team. And Julie goes, which football team? I mean, it kind of matters, What if it's the Browns, I mean,
Hey, you're talking to a girl from Cleveland. I can't believe that.
Well, I'm a Jets fan. I got nothing to say, So. But her perspective is so beautiful and pure, and she's amazing. And we got invited to Heartbeat. I think was our very first connection to the whole pregnancy life, community. And somebody, and transparently, it's because, Julie and I love our life, right? She's got a intellectual disability. I have a physical disability, and somebody, saw the possibility of, capitalizing on two messed up people who love life, so that's, every life has value, right? And that's, we organically that just happens by us being who we are.
And every life is messed up, by the way.
Yeah, ours is just a little more obvious. Yeah. But she's just, well, her, she's just a joy, I mean, we did it was a big event. I don't know. It doesn't matter where it was, LA maybe. But after the event, the television station there wanted to interview us. And Julie and I talk about, our main message is that the value of all life, right? She'll say, I have Down syndrome, Derrick's paralyzed, but we love our life, and then she'll talk about our family, and we have a brother and a sister, and they each have kids and they're married, and, and we're single. And she's like, we all love our life. Right. So the TV channel live says, hey, can you guys tell us your story? And they handed me the microphone. And I said, well, actually, Julie can. I wanted to sort of empower her, right? And so live TV, Julie says this. She looks right at the camera. She's like, sure. She goes, well, we're both handicapped. I have Down syndrome and he's single. The cameraman like dropped the camera. It was hilarious. And she realized that she like got our two phrases, combined. And she goes, oh, I'm sorry, Derrick. And I'm like, no, Jewel. I'm like, I've never written anything funnier than that. Like, we're going to be using that the rest of our life.
So that makes me want to ask you this question, because you really are funny. I have enjoyed your stuff. How, as a comedian, like, where does that come from? Like, where do you draw from?
Well, life,
new stuff, especially.
Yeah, life is funny. It just is. And to a large extent, comedians notice the same things everybody else notices. It's just that we write it down. Like, you'll see something funny and you'll think, oh, that's funny. And then you go on with your day. I write it down and try to make a joke about it. Like I was in McDonald's, 2 days ago, and the guy in front of me goes, yeah, can I get a number 2? And I was like, I'm like, don't worry, buddy. Get anything on that menu. You're going to get a number 2.
Oh, see, you already reverted to potty jokes. So.
I know it's already, yeah, I know, right? Isn't every meal at McDonald's a number 2? Come on.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So, so just life happens. And really, comedy is, I forget that somebody said comedy is tragedy plus time. Mm-hmm. And, it's just how you choose how you react to things. Stress is a choice. Sometimes it's the right choice. I choose more often humor or love, modeled by Julie. And the opportunity through the obstacles in our life is what gives us the biggest platform for that, right? And the cool, what we share is that I can't imagine a bigger obstacle than a pregnancy that wasn't expected or wanted. Well, what an opportunity, right, for joy, because it's life. There's no greater joy.
That's awesome. Because I know, like, you are on the road. It's not like you have a place that you specifically call home, or maybe you do. But what is like life like for comedian Derrick Tennant? Like, what's I know there's probably not typical, but what would kind of be a typical description of your life? Because I also let me say, I do like follow you on social media, so I see the Delta pictures all the time.
Yeah, I love Delta, man.
So tell us, kind of give us a sense of what life is like for you.
Well, I just, everything that I own fits into a carry-on bag. Like all my possessions. I don't have a house. I don't have an apartment. My motto is live simply, love wastefully. And that's what we try to teach people to do. And I think about it like this. If you imagine a bank account where if you spent $200, then all of a sudden somebody put $1,000 into your account. Mm. And if you spent $500, somebody put $10,000 into your account. How would you spend your money, right? You'd just buy everybody's lunch. You'd go out and waste your money all over the place. Well, love is the only thing that's actually like that. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
So we say we should love wastefully. And for me, that manifests, the simple part of it manifests in just, I love to travel. I love meeting new people. And I don't love spending $1,500 a month on an apartment, So I just, and pre-COVID, I was working enough, through comedy, speaking at churches, and then doing amazing events like we get to do with you guys. That I just stayed on the road. And if I had a couple of days off, I'll just go to the Bahamas or whatever, no wife, no kids. That helps too.
I've seen those pictures too.
Yeah. There's a lot. They've slowed down a little with this whole COVID thing, but it doesn't hurt that I'm single. I'm able to do that. Well, I don't have a wife, but I do have a better half. So, sorry.
Oh no, that was funny. That was funny.
That's a new one. So, but so I stay in a state of travel. I just looked at my schedule. In 2.5 months, I'll be in 13 states. And 2 weeks ago, I was in 4 time zones in one day. And to me, people like that stresses people out. I love it. I've had 3 meals a day in a Sky Club several times.
Sky clubs are really nice.
They are. Really, I know.
They're awesome.
People are like, they'll say to me, don't you get sick of hotels? I'm like, are you crazy? When I go back to my room, my bed is made. Does that happen at your house? And I don't, I use 3 towels when I shower, and they're clean, and you don't like, I never have to buy, certain things. If you think about it, I don't have to buy, like shampoo, I never have to buy, or toothpaste, television, if I can get it out of the hotel quick enough, stuff like that. No, but I love it. It just fits my personality and my lifestyle. I don't recommend, what I'm doing as what you should do with your life, sell everything. And then, and I only have 7 shirts. I think you know that. Like right now I'm wearing my Tuesday shirt. I had to look, but it's Tuesday.
14 sleeves. Is that?
Yeah. 14 sleeves is the name of my brand.
Yeah.
So, live simply, love wastefully. That's really what I try to do with life. And, I'm writing a book right now. I don't know if you know this.
No, tell us about that.
It's called Selfish Generosity. Because if you get it right, it's genuinely going to give you more than what you think you're giving away. And it sounds sort of cheesy and cliche, but it's true.
Oh, it's true. It's true.
So I feel selfish sometimes with the opportunities I have to, go out and love wastefully. It really gives me a lot of joy to be able to do that. And it almost feels selfish. So I just think it's a clever name too, that'll get someone to pick up a book off a shelf,
That's interesting that you shared that, because I don't know if we'll keep this in the podcast or not, but just briefly, after my dad passed away, it turned out there was this little insurance policy, and I'm one of 7 children. And so when that insurance policy was cashed in, and all 7 of us received some funds, it wasn't like a lot of money, so several $100s. It wasn't an enormous amount. And so as siblings, we were talking about what we would do with that. And one of my siblings bought a table and would invite people to come sit at the table out on her deck. And another one took their family out for a meal. And I ended up holding the cash in my pocket and decided I would spend a year giving it away as I felt led by the
Oh, that's awesome.
It was the most fun that I have ever had. To be able to give a significant amount of money, leave it behind for someone that I didn't know, who had been cleaning my room for a few days when I was traveling, or to go up and take care of a long line of servicemen who were buying coffee, and to just pick up the whole tab for them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was, you're right. It was selfish. Like, there aren't very many people I've ever even told that I've done that. Now I've done this perhaps on a podcast, unless we cut it out. But,
no, you got to leave it on the podcast. That's a perfect example of what I try to encourage people to do.
I'm the editor of the podcast, and I say it stays. So too bad, Betty.
But you're right. And when I look back on that, like, I was so sad when that ended. I could still continue the generosity, but it was really in honor of my dad. And I just kept thinking,
no, that's so
things
cool.
that he would like, and it was selfish is a good word for it, because I was so much more blessed than
right.
Anyone
and it was
else
worth so much more than that money, right?
I mean, it was.
And people recoil at the word selfish, but it just means that it feels good, and I read an article, it's actually pretty cool, where I got part of the ideas for some of this. It said, every time you touch a $5 bill in your life, put it in your pocket and then put it in a shoebox at home or whatever. And they said at the end of the year, you'll have $1,000 and go buy that lazy boy chair that you weren't going to get, or something like that. Right. So I started doing that. And in the first year, I'm like, wait a minute, this money is in my backpack and it's out of my mind. Right. Like it's not money now. So I just started giving it all away, exactly like you described. And it was so electrifyingly fun. And then the cool part of it, if you're a financial person, is I've since switched that to $2 bills. Every bank that I walk into, I buy every single $2 bill that they have. And then I give them out to somebody taking out the trash, or, somebody that you typically wouldn't give a tip to or something. And you would not believe the effect of a $2 bill. And it's less than half price of a $5 bill. But it has a way bigger effect. And just giving is so, and it's like, psychology discovers this stuff. Jesus talked about it over 2,000 years ago, right? Oh my goodness, being generous makes you happy. Wow. Yeah, we kind of knew that.
Wow. That brings me back to really the pregnancy help community, because when I think about those working in pregnancy resource centers or medical clinics, adoption agencies, maternity homes, they are the most generous people of their time, their talent, their treasure. And so it's always such a privilege to be part of that community and how they serve, because they inspire me, and I know they
Oh my gosh.
you as well.
Yeah, we work it into the rider that we come in like 2 days early every time we speak with a center, and that is exclusively selfish. We would love getting to know the community, the volunteers, the board, whatever. And Julie loved, like, her best friends are all over the country from pregnancy centers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask Julie, she's been in she's been in 40 states, and I can't remember how many countries.
Wow.
And you ask her where her favorite places to go is, and she's like, Arkansas, Ohio, because it has nothing to do with the place. She couldn't tell you one thing in Arkansas other than her friend, that lives there. So that becomes her favorite place. Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome.
That's Julie.
So, Derrick, how many, you may not even know the answer to this, but like how many pregnancy centers have you or you and Julie been to in terms of doing like banquets?
That's hard to say. I don't know. And we definitely don't go out to do 30 in a year or whatever, because we want it to be 3 or 4 days that we're spending time making new friends.
Sure.
And hopefully genuinely impacting. And at the banquet, we can say, you should see the carpet in the center. Anybody work for a carpet company or, whatever, there's ways that where we're on the team instead of just being the guy that makes you cry and open your wallet. I can do that too, but, and Julie's better at it.
Cry and you can make us laugh.
Yeah. That's, they psychology has proven that when your emotions are really high and really low in a really short amount of time, that's when you're most pliable and teachable, and in turn generous too, so it's pretty cool. And Julie's got some great stories. So
I have just a few more questions for you. So
sure.
Where can people, like if they're interested in hearing more about you or seeing some of your comedy, where would you direct them to check you guys out?
The easiest thing is just if you go to bleepfree.com, as in there's no bleeps, BLEEPFREE.com. That's my most recent comedy special is posted there. It's from Dry Bar. But that's the easiest. But the best thing you're going to want to do is find Julie. And you can find us. You can go to thelovechromosome.com, and I'm not going to try to spell that. Julie can spell it better than me. But and we also, this is fun, we do a live show every single day, Julie and I, 365 days a year. It's on 5 different Facebook pages and I think 3 YouTube pages. And all we do is tell jokes and be silly, and you'll just get to see Julie be Julie. I mean, she's so fun. And we've got watchers in Morocco, we've got watchers in the Philippines, and there's not a lot of people watching on any given time. Mm-hmm. But there's people that consistently watch it all over the world. And really there's no, Julie has a line of apparel, right? It's called Julie's Cool Shirts.
I have 2 of them and I love them.
Oh, super soft and they don't shrink,
yep,
right? That's what she would tell you. Yep. And that's sort of like, not that it's just us, but I say that sponsors the show. So I call it the shirt show because I think that's funny. Julie doesn't think it's funny. But the shirt show it's every day at 3:21 because Down syndrome is a third number 21 chromosome. Mm-hmm. And that's 3:21 p.m. Eastern because Julie lives in New York, and then I'll be, virtually there from wherever I am. And it's really a lot of fun. And then social media wise, I guess we can put the links in the podcast or whatever, but my stuff is 14 sleeves, 14 sleeves, and Julie's is Love Chromosome or the Love Chromosome. And I actually recently combined my Twitter and my YouTube and my Facebook all into one page to make it easier. Mm-hmm. It's called the Twit Face.
Only you, Derrick.
Okay, don't go there. Don't go there. Maybe that should be edited out. But we love people, and we love to connect anyway. It doesn't have to be speaking at a banquet, but if we, so a lot of times a mom's pregnant with a Downs kid. Mm-hmm. And Julie will write them a letter and she'll be like, "You're so lucky. Your kid is just like me." And then we'll send them some videos. So it doesn't have to be, money doesn't have to exchange hands for us to be on your team. We would be so honored just to serve any way we can to support life 100%.
That's great. All right. Next question for you. So we know people who are listening, you should take a break every day to be able to smile and to laugh. So you can tap into some of those links that we just talked about for Derrick.
Absolutely.
At the moment, you have an opportunity in this very moment to just speak a word of encouragement to those who serve in the pregnancy help community who are going to be listening to this podcast once we go public with it. What would you say to them? Give us a word of encouragement for that.
Man, thanks for putting me on the spot, by the way.
Hey, you're welcome. It's my job. It's what I get paid the big bucks for.
Yeah, that's right. I would just say that, man, life is jam-packed with challenges and obstacles, and nobody sees that more than the front lines of a pregnancy center, not just the pregnancy, but all the things that they smash into, full speed ahead and see. But everything is an opportunity. Every obstacle is an opportunity, and the bigger the obstacle, the bigger the opportunity, right? And here's the thing that that's the thing you say amen to at church and all that, and but it doesn't make you feel better when you don't have food on the table or that kind of thing. So the beauty is that, the way I look at it, our job is not to understand God. I know, unquestionably that God loves me, created me, and makes no mistakes, right? He doesn't make it. And I think most people listening, if not all, would agree with that, right? So if he doesn't make mistakes and he made you, then you're not a mistake. And whatever situation is going on didn't surprise him. I don't think God was making Derrick and he was like, oops, oh, sorry, you're going to be paralyzed. I got distracted. I don't think that happened. But see, here's the thing. Our job isn't to understand God. Man, if we could do that, we would be God, right? So here's the encouragement. If God was small enough to be understood, he wouldn't be big enough to be worshiped. And our job is to be his friend and to trust him. And I find that I can focus on that even in the middle of these crazy storms that I don't have to understand. I can't. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to take that energy and try to put it into trust in him. And he never fails. So it's pretty
word. That's a really great word, Derrick. I'm so glad that you shared that with us. I have one more question for you, my friend.
Sure.
What are you doing in March, the end of March in 2022? We lost him.
He's like,
he didn't want to answer the question. We'll have to edit that out. Will he call back?
It's the worst time to jump out of this.
He's so funny.
Is it a joke?
I wonder if his phone died.
He's back.
Okay, we got to keep that in. That was too funny. That was like a total cliffhanger.
So Julie was calling me, and I tried to, and never in my life,
so funny.
Never in my life would I ever say this, but I tried to reject Julie, and I rejected you guys. So there's some wisdom.
You made a good choice there. Okay,
it's actually 3:21, so our show started, and I didn't set it up. That's why she's calling. But
okay. So
but no, this is a great wisdom. You said you had one more question.
One more question. My last question. You. Yes, okay. You cut me off.
So I'm that guy.
Don't cut me off this time. I want to know what you're doing the last week of March of 2022. If you're game, willing, able, I think you would be such a joy and a blessing to join us in Jacksonville, Florida, and do an evening of comedy and joy with our attendees at the Heartbeat Conference. What do you say to that?
Well, I definitely was going to be there, but if you're going to make me cry. That would be awesome. We would love only if I can bring Julie.
That's even better.
I know that you're really inviting her, and I just am like the driver, so I'm not stupid.
Julie's brother.
Right.
When you go on your live show with Julie, would you ask her for us?
Yeah, I'll do that. That'll happen in 5 minutes. Yeah, okay. I'll do that for sure. Right. No, thank you. That would be awesome. I've always, we're always there with a booth, and we get to do workshops and stuff. But I would love the opportunity just to connect and love on our friends that are on the front lines. That would be awesome.
And we would love that opportunity as well. So
consider this a yes, and I can convince Julie, I think, to be the center of attention again.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate you taking time to be with us, and hope that our listeners were blessed. I know I was just hanging out with you, Derrick. It's always
me too.
So thank you for taking time. I know that you need to move on to probably another state, another time zone. So appreciate you always looking on the right side of life. And
I try.
And we will talk to you soon, my friend.
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We love you.
Well, like Betty said, we have the annual conference coming up the last week of March. So stay tuned for more details on that, as well as when registration opens. You can check out updates on heartbeatservices.org if you click on training. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Pregnancy Help Podcast. You can go to heartbeatinternational.org/podcast to subscribe and share this with your friends, and we'll see you at conference.